Oh, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Mike Winlo. I'm the CEO of Emyria, and I'm really proud to present our company to you. We're a really unique company in that we're both involved in the delivery and the development of new treatments for major mental health and select neurological conditions. Here's our usual disclaimer, and let's get right into it. Who is Emyria? Well, we are involved in frontline care delivery, but also the development of brand new treatments. We're focused on mental health and select neurological conditions. And so today we're actively treating patients. We own multidisciplinary psychiatry-led practices where we treat patients for a variety of conditions, but with a special focus on psychological trauma. We also have an active program with some major international partners, including the University of Western Australia, where we're developing brand new treatments using MDMA as our inspiration. And we believe we can create new medicines that can help address a range of indications. So a company that's involved in frontline care delivery with innovative new treatments, but also developing future therapies as well. There's a synergy here that's really important to us. Our clinics generate data and revenues that support our innovation efforts. That data and insight also improves the way we deliver care, but importantly, we think we can create a really strong commercial foundation from our clinical services, doing something that's really unique and hard to replicate, and use that to drive and subsidize a really ambitious innovation agenda as well. And so how do we make money? Well, today we are making money. We generate more than $1 million a quarter, and we're yet to launch a number of new services, which we think can grow that substantially. And in the future, we think there are significant venture returns possible through our drug development program. Upcoming catalysts. So the current focus is intensely on rolling out a unique MDMA-assisted therapy program, which I'll explain more about shortly. We are one of the few centers in the world really able to do this under the stringent legal framework that Australia allows. And over the next few months, we'll be scaling those services, adding new options into our clinical infrastructure. And we believe this will help us engage major payers to help fund this and allow us to bring this treatment to those who could benefit most. And of course, in our drug development program still being pushed along, the next key phase to look out for is significant IP around our drug assets. Okay, so what's our unique view? We know the future of mental health, particularly been following the news. There's a lot of interest and excitement around these drug-assisted therapies for some of our most difficult to treat mental health challenges. That is the combination of intensive psychotherapy and medication to support healing in a patient who's mentally unwell or really suffering. And so that combination, both in the medication and the psychotherapy, are where we're going to see innovation evolve over time. And so it's really important, we believe, to be involved both in that frontline care delivery and also push the innovation side to really make the biggest long-term impact in this space. And we really believe that by doing the clinical delivery well, it is actually one of the most important challenges to bringing these treatments to patients. And so why are we so interested in drug-assisted therapy? Well, as I mentioned, there's growing interest in this, but the reason for that is that we recognize that we have such a massive problem and challenge with mental health today. 1 in 5 Australian adults in any 12-month period will be recognized as having a mental health challenge. That's many millions of Australians. We also know that there's a huge mental health service capacity challenge. 1 in 3 psychologists no longer accepting new referrals. It's likely a higher proportion of that with specialist psychiatry. We've really got under capacity to serve the growing burden of mental health in our country. And this is a global phenomenon. And that's why treatments that potentially can give durable long-term benefit to patients, like what we are seeing in the research for psychedelic assisted therapies, attracting so much attention, so much interest from clinical medicine, but also from investors as well. And globally uniquely, Australia is the only place legally able to prescribe MDMA for PTSD and psilocybin for treatment-resistant depression at the moment. That gives us a really interesting opportunity at the right kind of regulatory environment for a company like Emyria to thrive. And so our focus is post-traumatic stress disorder. We own and operate a specialist psychological trauma treatment center comprising a range of specialists. We know this is a huge unmet need. There's nearly 1 million Australians believed to have PTSD. If we believe half of those have treatment resistance, we know that this is a substantial number in the many hundreds of thousands of potential patients that could benefit from this treatment. We know that MDMA-assisted therapy is showing tremendous promise in the clinical research, and we want to bring those outcomes to patients in the real world. And Emyria has been working very hard to obtain all the necessary approvals to provide this treatment. So what is MDMA-assisted therapy? Well, it's the use of MDMA alongside psychotherapy to tackle a challenge like trauma. MDMA, otherwise known as ecstasy, is actually a very old molecule. It's more than 100 years old, and it's actually got its first kind of use in society as an adjunct for psychotherapy before it became a drug of abuse and then outlawed essentially in the war on drugs in the 80s. But what we're starting to realize is that it is a very powerful adjunct for psychotherapy for patients struggling with trauma. It increases senses of trust, decreases fear and defensiveness. And so those qualities become very important when somebody's doing therapy and allowing someone to work through their trauma issue. MDMA, of course, is not without its risks, and there are key exclusions, which I mention here, but a specialist psychiatrist is able to determine whether somebody is suitable for this treatment or not. And as I mentioned, this is now a legal option for specially authorized psychiatrists here in Australia. And we're actually supported by fantastic clinical evidence. 2 phase 3 trials have now concluded, and they've replicated their results, showing that more than 80% of patients get a clinically significant improvement in their symptoms, and nearly 2/3 of patients no longer meet the criteria for for PTSD after just 3 doses of MDMA with supportive psychotherapy. A remarkable outcome that has obviously got the attention of the world. We believe it's a highly cost-effective intervention too. If you look at what the typical course of treatment is over a year for a patient with severe PTSD, you consider and you sum up the occasional hospital admission, long-term therapy, you're looking at costs in the many tens of thousands of dollars, and these are lifetime costs, whereas a course of MDMA-assisted therapy, intensive 12 to 16-week program, under $30,000 can lead to a durable long-term benefit. That is the hope. Then we've got a really cost-effective treatment as well. And so we can summarize here that we need better PTSD treatments. MDMA-assisted therapy shows great promise, appears to be cost-effective, and importantly, we know how to deliver that treatment, because the real final hurdle here is who has the competency and the capabilities to bring this promising treatment to the enormous potential unmet need that there is. And that's our focus. And so for the last 24 months, more than 2 years, we've been working on this challenge. We've got fit for purpose facilities. We've got 20 trained clinicians ready to be psychedelic assisted therapists. We've proven ourselves in our other clinical services. We've cared for more than 20,000 patients. And now we have some of the key components in place to be able to provide this treatment at scale with the smarts to do it in a commercially viable way. And we believe we'll have an intelligent, adaptive care model that can scale nationally and eventually globally. We also believe that tech-enabled and smart clinical services can do very well as an investment. Some examples here of major large market caps in companies that have done very good at their delivery of clinical services. We expect to be the same. But right now, I think we are much at the smaller end, and an incredible investment opportunity to get in early to enjoy that upside with us as well. Notably, we have some key life science investors on our register, including 10 Mile, the private family office of the Andrew Forrest family. We have an incredible board to get us there too, and a couple of highlights. Greg Hutchinson, CEO of Sonic Health Plus, an expert in scaling clinical services, started with a handful of physiotherapy practice, helped grow a business that now has more than 50 locations around Australia. Sir John Took, an expert in learning health systems, knighted for his services to medicine, a great advisor in how to set up intelligent clinical services. Karen Smith is an experienced biopharma exec, and Dr. Mohit Kaushal has been involved in many tech-enabled clinical services as well. Myself, a background in medicine and in data analysis as well. And I think between the team here, the right leadership to build this kind of business, smart clinical services with an eye to use our data and insights to drive drug development. And so just to remind you, we're focused on MDMA-assisted therapy. We've got all the key pieces in place. We're one of the few locations globally that can do this. We've got the kind of commercial instincts to be able to do this in a viable way, in a scalable way. So look for us to grow that service, look for us to launch new services into our clinical infrastructure, and ultimately engage payers to really supercharge what we do. And we want to return those revenues and data insights back to supercharge our drug development programs as well. Very quickly, the last couple of slides here is we do have a deep pipeline. I encourage you to take a look and learn more. We have some great IP over an enormous universe of MDMA analogs, novel compositions of matter, some really promising lead series here across neuroscience and across neuropsychiatry. We also have some cannabinoid dose forms as well, also going through funded preclinical development programs. And some very strong IP to back all of that up. So, mental health focused company, laser focused on MDMA assisted therapy for PTSD and rolling that out and bringing that to patients who need it. Focus broadly on drug assisted therapy, actively treating patients and learning with those patients, returning those data and revenues to support our drug development, and an amazing world-class team to make it all happen. Thank you for following along, and I look forward to taking your questions. Just reach out. Thank you very much.